My name is Elleesa. So today we are going to create a Cricut Joy Card Map project in Design Space, starting from a blank canvas. Now today's card is a metric A6 size, which is 14.8 centimeters by 10.5 centimeter finished folded card. I do have other sizes, including the Cricut Joy branded pack of cards. Check out the links in the playlist in the description box. So before we get started, if it is the first time you're watching me, make sure it is not the last. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. I'm going to go new project. And then I'm going to go to my settings and I am going to select unit metric. So you can flick between imperial and metric. When I'm working in metric projects, I flick to metric. And if I'm working in imperial card sizes, I will flick to imperial. So we'll click done. Now from here, we are going to add a shape. We're going to add a square. And we are going to unlock our square. And we are going to select our insert size, which is our width is 9.7 centimeters by 14.1 centimeters. I'm going to pop this out of the way, and I'm also going to change the card's color to purple just on screen. So now before we start designing, I'm just going to show you a couple of little tricks. So the first one is text. Now, I don't have Cricut access, but first of all, the first thing you'll notice is that it's moved everything down a little bit. So if you are working an image with text, it is a good idea to move the whole thing down on your canvas a little bit to make it easier. Now, searching for fonts, if I go font here, my two tricks are to go to Cricut. If you are looking for something you downloaded onto your PC, the system is where you will find this. If you're looking for things that are available on the cloud all around, Cricut is where to look. Now, I usually search for two things. First of all, it's Cricut. And if you say only Kern fonts, only one pops up. Untick this box, and you've got a few, and there's no prices attached to these. If it has a price, for example, this one here, you'll see it listed over here. Now, if I'm looking for a writing font, I can go to Filters and Writing, and it's all in here as well. So you've got two choices for writing fonts. Now, my other favorite is Stencil. And usually there's one or two that are free at the time. At the moment, it is Cygnus Stencil, and that's usually my choice. But we're not going to add a font right now. We are just going to go to Images. And you'll see some of the images here. They've got prices attached to them. If you have Cricut Access, everything with that little A badge is included in your subscription. And if you want to filter by those, you can actually tick a box. And that will help you find everything that is available to you, included in your Access membership. I don't have Access, so we're going to go to Ownership. We're going to select Free. If you want to, you can include Purchased and Uploaded. I'm not, because I want to share my project. So you've got quite a few options here. You can see I'm going to search for card. So I'm going to search for corners, and I'm going to check that my free filter is on, and I'm going to select one of my free options. Then I'm going to add this to my canvas, and I'm going to resize to match the exact dimensions of the insert, which is 9.7 centimeters by 14.1 centimeters. Then I'm going to position this at 0, 0, just to make things a little bit easier. Then I'm going to add a shape, and I'm going to add a square. And I'm going to unlock my square, and I'm going to adjust it so it sits nicely in between the corners, but is not touching the corners, because you want to make sure that you've got space around the outside of the card. Now, whatever is black is going to be your cuts in this card, or dark colors, I should say, because it doesn't come in as black. It will be eventually. But whatever's the dark colors will be what gets cut. So now we're going to resize our square. And I'm going to position it in the center, and that's why I wanted my corners in 0, 0. It makes it easier to guess what the centering is by calculation. Now I'm going to add an image now, and I'm going to search for ruler, and I'm going to see what free rulers are available. There's one here with numbers, but I like the look of this, the straight line, but I'm going to splice out the bits that I'm not happy with if they're not already layers. So I'm going to check my layers. It is one layer. So I'm going to add a square, and I'm going to stick this square above the ruler covering the parts I don't want to keep. I'm going to select the two images, and then I am going to splice. Now, splice will only work when you select 2 layers at a time. Now, you could use these excess to repeat the steps I'm doing, so you might want to save them till the end. Now I'm going to position my ruler where I would like it, and I want it to connect to the borders of the card. But I'm going to make it on an angle, and I'm going to make that angle 345 degrees. And see, I want to make sure where those lines in the ruler are not on the edges. Just try and make that cut as easy as possible, but as effective as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eventually I'm going to cut that out. So now I'm going to add the text, which is, in this case, I'm going to add you rule with an exclamation point. I'm going to search in Cricut for fonts for Cricut to see what free fonts come out. I'm going to use this circle. It's got a price you'll see below. I'm going to use this circle font because it does have a bit of a stencil effect to it. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to combine it all together. So I'm going to reduce all my line spacing. And then I'm going to weld. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did with the ruler. Make sure that I position it straight across. Make sure that I connect it to the borders. And I'm going to pop it on exactly the same angle. Now, within those bubbles, the text is a stencil font. But because we've condensed it, we might have a few issues, but we'll address those later in this video. So from here now, we're going to make sure that we weld and then slice. So first thing we do is select the top 2 layers that I want to cut holes in and select weld, and then I'm going to select the 2 layers and then select slice. Now it's starting to come together. You can see where it is the darker colors, that's where it will cut, and where it is the grid background is where your card will be. So you'll see how it connects. Now, when I said it was a stencil font, but when we condensed it, some of the stencil might not be big enough for the die cut machine. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of triangles for the letters. The E looks good still, but the O and the R look like they might just cut out giant holes. So I'm going to add this little extra shape on top. I'm going to select the 2 layers and then hit the slice button and then delete everything around it. And now you'll see that my U's got a bit of a stencil font attached. And I'm going to repeat this process with the R. So I've made the triangle, position it over the top where I want to cut an extra little piece. R's a little bit harder. You can spend a little bit more time on this to get it exactly right. I'm going to do it pretty quick today. I might not be 100% happy with the outcome. But you can always go back and fix it up. So now you select the 2 layers and then the slice button will appear and you hit slice. Wait a moment, you've got all the slice results and you can delete all the excess. Now you've got the R and it's a little bit of a stencil font. You'll see what the difference is. Now I'm happy enough with that. You could spend a bit more time making it more precise if you wish. You could also then repeat those steps with those extra little cuts if you want, or do more than one ruler. They're all where you can add your little bit of creative flair. So now I'm going to save my project and I'm going to press make it. So it's sorting mats into project color, and we are going to select multiple ways because we are going to cut our insert as well as the card. The first one's on the card mat. Now you want to make sure your design is in the top left hand corner. Now on the second mat, we're going to select on a mat. We're going to position our card where we would like it to cut on our mat. I'm going to stick with the top left hand corner for now. We're going to click back onto our first screen and get ready to press continue. Before I press continue, you want to make sure that your machine is turned on. You plug it in, make sure it makes all the correct noises and that light is flashing. I'm also going to find my mats. I've got one lovely card mat here, and I have one lovely light grip mat for my other card. Now the first mat it was saying was the card, so we're going to take off our dust cover, we're going to pop our card. Now my other trick here is you've got to make sure that your card lines up with that blue line. You want to avoid as many finger oils as you can on this card mat too. I like to use my scraping tool and give it a good stick to that card mat without touching it. My first card mat got lost to finger oils and scraping and all sorts of rubbish. Machine's on, and now it's asking me to connect to my machine. So we're going to be using a card today, so I'm going to select insert card cardstock, and then I'm going to select default pressure. You might need to play around and practice a little bit to work out whether you need more or less or default pressure. It just depends on your machine and your card and how sharp your blade is. If you did pick pens, this is where it will give you the list of what you need to. So let's go. They ask you to unload. To make our custom insert card. And now we're going to be asked to select our material, and today I'm using cardstock with the packet says that it's 210 GSM. So I'm going to select medium cardstock, and I find that I don't get a clean cut unless I select more pressure. However, it is a risk that you will wear your mat out quicker. To make our custom insert card, I'm going to get the cardstock and I'm going to pop it onto my mat using my scraper to avoid as many finger oils on my dirty mat as possible. Now, if you've got any tips for me to clean that mat, go ahead and pop them in the comments box below. Now, it's asking us to load our fine point blade, and I'm just going to check mine is already loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and load my mat, and I need to make sure I completely unload my mat before I go ahead and load it. First, it'll check that it has enough material, and if you're happy and it's happy, it'll ask you to press go. Now, the next two steps are very important. They ask you to unload, then it'll ask to reconnect to your machine and press finish. Now, if you don't complete that process, sometimes your Joy can disconnect from your Bluetooth incorrectly and then have trouble reconnecting. So it's very important. And now it's weeding time. So it's time to weed that insert card off our mat. So the way I get the cleanest cut is if I fold up all four of those side edges first, take off the outer coating, peel the insert card off our mat carefully and try and avoid curling. After weeding, pop the insert card into the slots, and that's it. A super easy, super cute card. If you liked the video today, please go ahead and give this video a huge thumbs up for me. If it is the first time you're watching me, make sure it is not the last. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you are amongst the first to know when I release a new video. Thanks for watching.